Welcome back to Yanks the Cop. We are here tonight for our Liverpool versus Crystal Palace pre-match build-up special. So, as always, I'm joined by my lovely host, Sophie. How you doing, Soph?
I'm all right, thank you.
Tonight, we've got a special guest that's going to be recurring as a host, Doug. How you doing, Doug?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me again.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
Always welcome. And we've got two special guests. Well, one's recurring in Steve. How you doing, Steve, mate?
I'm good, and it's a very apt description of me because I am very special.
Yes, you are. And then we've got Rich here, first appearance on Gangster Cop. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Perfect. Good to have you on. So we're just going to obviously dive into it from the Palace perspective. So obviously, you guys had a big change at the end of the season. You got rid of the dull, depressing Roy Hodgson, who, like, even still is seen as one of the worst managers Liverpool have had in the last 20, 30 years. And you got in Patrick Vieira, who kind of a shock appointment. You might have thought you got some more experience, but obviously he plays a different style of football. The Hodgson's more attacking minded. We'll start with you, Rich. Like, what did you feel that Vieira was the right manager for you to when you saw them looking for a manager? And what have you thought in terms of the style of play and how he's approaching the season for you guys?
Yeah, first and first, obviously, I know you've given that a little bit of a Roy slander, and yes, his style of play was tepid, but he did stabilise us as a club, which is obviously the most important thing. But we just definitely needed to push on. We're seeing teams like Wolves, Leeds, Villa come up and play better football than us, which was frustrating to see. With the Patrick Vieira appointment, what I was happy about is that we've kind of gone away from the regular carousel of managers, the Sam Allardyces, the Pulises and such, and we've gone in a completely different direction. I mean, it was a very tough summer regarding the managerial position because we had Nuno Espirito Santo, who was close to being our manager. That fell through. Lucien Favre, who's worked wonders with youth players, and especially in Dortmund, he was close to signing. Like, even Fabrizio Romano, I think it was like 24 hours before, said this is close. That fell through, and they were like, "Oh, you're kidding me!" So to get Patrick in, the one thing I personally found was excellent about his appointment is the fact that for a manager to go to the United States, to the MLS, which is completely disregarded as a footballing league and competition, to still want to learn his trade says that he doesn't think like he's too high of himself. So I was really happy with that. And obviously seeing him at Leeds, he had a great start and things got a bit rocky. I mean, the owners were obviously expected a lot more, seeing as he's got a lot of money now. But he wants to play out from the back. And this is something that you're starting to see with us as a club. Over pre-season, it was like, whoa, this is different. Like having possession of the football. Like, what's that? Sort of thing. And as the games have gone on, especially since the Chelsea game, we've gradually got better at it. And I think the players are more adverse to what Patrick wants to see. And last week, Saturday, we've gone and thrown a top 6 club in the bin. Not like through luck, not through parking the bus, but absolutely going and taking the game to them. I think we ended up with like 60-something% possession. And we deservedly win that game. So I'm absolutely buzzing for what the season holds for us. And I'm loving the new style of play.
Thanks for that. Everyone, if you are joining, do smash the like, subscribe button. Just reading some of the comments here. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see Alan. Obviously saying no escaping Sophie and Doug tonight. So he's obviously on Doug's show. So good to see you, Alan. Interesting. Obviously, Christian was asking that. Do you guys still have Sarko? Mohamed Sarko at your club?
No, he's gone. He's at Montpellier.
Oh, good. Yeah, he was a tragedy sending back. But going on to you, Steve. Now, what's your take on Patrick Vieira? Are you sold that he's the right manager to take your club forward, or did you feel that you should have got someone that was more experienced? Because obviously, like for example, Rafa Benitez is still without a club, so he was on the market. So what do you think of Vieira?
I think like Rich mentioned, we've always been sucked into that vortex of the same old hat, the Allardyces, the Pulises, the Hodgsons, those sort of people that have had good careers, but the best years have been behind them. And, we've just been kind of suctioned into believing that they can bring that back to us. And it's never been the real case. So, yeah, Vieira was a massive curveball. You sort of look at it and you think, okay, what could this look like? But forget the football for a moment. Forget what's happened so far season to date. He's a proven winner. And when you've got someone like that leading your team, and whatever he says behind the scenes, I know we'll never know, we'll never hear it, but that just strikes as a fantastic move in itself, because the leadership qualities are just going to shine through, and all of a sudden the players going to look up to that. The start of the season was a bit ropey. We gave far too much respect to Chelsea. There was an improvement on the previous season's same fixture by 1 goal. But in the 70th minute, that was the catalyst for the change in this season. All of a sudden, we went for it. Yeah, we didn't get anywhere. We didn't achieve anything. But the players started to recognise this is the way that we need to play. Against Brentford, we picked it up a little bit more. But we did come up against a bit of a barrier with a team that's been promoted, got that sort of motivation. And then the first half, we kind of slipped back against West Ham. But then the second half, something just clicked and we changed. And since then, to put Spurs away like we did, it was completely refreshing. And we've never played like that against a top 6 club for probably 5 seasons. The last time we played well against a top 6 club, ironically, was in the 4-3 loss to you. Because we went into that game and we were like, don't care who you are, we're going to go at you. But since then, any top 6 club we've played, it's like, well, we'll sit back and let them dictate the game. And Saturday, it was just, I was in shock, but we dominated from start to finish. The red card, the Spurs fans they're all bitter about it, but we dominated before that red card, and I think it's a fantastic appointment. It will be a roller coaster naturally, like it always is at Palace, and there'll be good days and bad days. But I think we're going to get far more good days than bad, in my opinion.
That's the thing I'm going to say now. I think people would have swayed to say that the red card changed the game, because actually, if you look at the whole game as a whole, you absolutely battered them on and off the pitch. Like, you were absolutely fantastic, and the way, look, Tanganga for me should have been sent off in that instant with Zaha.
Exactly.
I think he was very
fortunate decision from Moss.
Mm-hmm. He was very, very fortunate to remain on the pitch then, but you absolutely battered them, and then obviously you get the penalty with Zaha coolly putting it away, and then obviously you get your £80 million striker coming off the bench 27 seconds into his debut. First touch is a touch to, and then second touch was a fantastic finish as well, and then he scores a second one. But I'm a big fan of his. I'm not going to lie. Having watched him play for Celtic up here, I know what he's good at. So I think it's a cracking signing, and I think Palace needed someone like that to bolster their attack.
100%. I think the biggest downfall for Palace has been the striker department. And me and Rich were speaking last night with someone else. We haven't really had anyone, apart from Benteke under Allardyce, who played to his strengths. We haven't really had anyone that's got the ball and just put it away. And every time they've got it, they've just wanted, the natural thing to do was just to shoot. We're too busy since then trying to walk the bloody ball in, and that's been our downfall. But Edouard, he's class and he's clinical, and that is exactly what we needed as a club.
Yeah, just on the back of that, now obviously in the past we've only really had Zaha as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Now you look around our squad, Zaha, Edouard. Watch out for Michael Olise, by the way. Absolute player.
Gallagher,
Eze when he comes back.
Yeah.
There's Just Rexaki, leave him alone, by the way, please. Please leave him alone. You look at sniffing around one of our youth players. But just going on to the Edouard situation, when you look at both his goals last week, there was no hesitation. It was literally one touch and shoot.
Yeah.
Steve made a great point last night. Benteke might have held it up a bit, looking for a pass backwards and stuff, and then the attack fizzles out. But Edouard is just like one and bang. It was great to see, to be honest.
And if you look around every team, that's in the Premier League, or most teams, at Liverpool you've got Salah, at Man United you've got, now you've got Ronaldo, you've got players like that they'll get the ball and the first thing they think about is not to start playing it around with each other, it's just to bloody hit the thing. And Eduardo, his first touch was hit it. Yeah. 3 minutes later, his second touch was hit it. And what happens? Hey presto, we suddenly start scoring goals, which we struggled for such a long time to be doing.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to also bring you to you guys' attention is obviously there was another kind of like window where people spoke about Zaha, whether he was going to stay, go. And obviously with Hodgson going, you thought would Zaha then follow suit on leave? But I don't think. I think obviously with the price that Palace also put on him is always like a very, very high price. So now he's 28, being 29, 29 this year. Like, do you see that's him now for Palace for the rest of his career? We'll start with you, Rich. Like, do you see that now that Boat's gone now? The fact that there's the doors for him now.
It's the window's. I wouldn't say it's completely closed. There's still a possibility he might nick one more move. However, it was really refreshing to actually hear no transfer rumors about him this window. Every window we hear something, and this was the first one that we hadn't. So hopefully, Patrick sat him down. I believe he's given him the armband a few times as well. He does love the club, to be honest. Maybe, just maybe, he might want to see out his career here and maybe just achieve something with us.
I think the pivotal thing that happened with Zaha was 2 seasons ago, or no, 3 windows ago, when Everton offered 70 million plus 2 players and we turned it down. And that's because Parish had a ceiling in his mind, and that was 80 million. That's what he's worth to the club. It doesn't matter whether he's, opposing fans say he's not worth that. It's just completely irrelevant. If you want him, it's 80 million, and you can have him. He's still got 2 years left of his contract. So, yeah, we could still feasibly lose him. It depends if he tries to really push that through and what his agent does. But if we don't get what we want for him, I genuinely don't see him leaving at all. Maybe at the end of the contract, maybe he doesn't renew his contract and he leaves at 30. But at the end of the day, we would have got 12 years out of the guy at that point.
Yeah, I can't see him leaving personally. I think that's boat is sold personally for me. I don't see anyone really having the money to pay for him, especially now. So I reckon he's going to at least stay out to the end of his contract.
Yeah, I just think if you want 80 million for him, he's 29. I can't see any club coming in and getting a 29. So you've got 2 years left of contract. Say you see them 2 years out, 30, 31. No one's going to be wanting to pay that much money for a player of that age anyway. And it's, as Steve just said, that it's not about that's his value to every other club, that's his value to your club. And the same can be said for what happened with Jack Grealish at Villa. Nobody would have valued him at 100 million, but to that club, he was worth 100 million. And with City buying him, they've now bought 3 players to replace him. And it is about sometimes pricing the value of your players isn't about the value of their transfer market. It's the value that they bring to your squad. And you can definitely say that Zaha he's a staple. He's part of the furniture, really, isn't he? Of Palace. Like you say Palace, you think of Zaha. That's kind of the way it is. I completely agree with what Hamish said. Like, I can't see him going anywhere. And every year when these transfer rumours come out about him, you just kind of brush him off now, don't you? Like, It's never going to happen. He's not going to go anywhere, is he?
I think as well, which is quite important to note, Crystal Palace have just had the best transfer window they've ever had in their history. And so many of the players that we've signed have gone under the radar, and everyone's looked at it and thought, oh, Anderson, I'll let Rich pronounce the other defender because I'll get bastard for it. Gallagher and obviously Elise, and Eze last season when we got him. I mean, everyone looks at him and thinks, well, just championship-based players, but it isn't about that at times. It's about recognising the quality that you've got, and Crystal Palace is a great platform for those players to showcase themselves. Whether they stay with us for a huge amount of time, that time will tell. But the quality that we've brought in has gone massively under the radar, in my opinion.
Yeah. I just want to mention your summer transfer window. I'll let you talk in a minute, Rich. I just want to mention that because I did want to bring us onto that segment in the sense like, Ulysses, I was hoping him to come to Liverpool because I think like
you wanted anybody.
At 19. At 19.
Wahami, you've got to remember you're owned by FSG. You don't sign anyone.
Yeah, at 19, I feel like he's got the most.
Wahami ran the club. He's bought Meccano, he's bought Marlon, he's bought Newhouse.
I just feel like shush, Sophie.
Don't
I just
shush
feel like
me. I might be sick, but I will still shut you down. Shush.
I think Elise is going to want to
sign a chocolate teapot.
No, I wouldn't.
If he had a 40 million price tag on it, because you go.
It's not quality. At least he's going to be one of those players that you wish you would have bought now than later on down the line. Because he was like, I think he had the most created chances in Europe for under 21 last year as well. He's a very good player. I know he had the injury towards the end of the season, but he was as good as Harvey Elliott in that league in the championship. So probably So I think you're going for 8 million as well, which is a bargain signing as well. So also want to talk to you about also Mark Gueye, because he's a Chelsea youth player. You paid 80 million for. Like what can you tell us about him? Because I haven't really seen much of him myself, to be honest to say, and I was surprised when I saw that you spent that much money on him, and Chelsea were able to command that fee. Like, Rich,
he's absolutely outstanding. Yeah, absolutely outstanding talent, and he's a World Cup winner, and so is Elise. These kids that we've bought, they've got a long career ahead of them, and it's really, really worthy of note that we've gone from having the oldest average age squad to one of the youngest average age squads now, and the difference that Vieira's made it's just incredible. The football's only going to get better. The squad's talent is unreal, but it's gone under the radar, and everyone will rip us for that. But trust me, the result we got against Spurs, we will replicate that against many a team this season, I think.
Yeah, and even on that note regarding the transfers, when you look at Elise, Gallagher, Gay, Eze, obviously who had beforehand, they've all played together in the under 20, from the under 17s, under 19s, under 21 setup. So huge credit goes to obviously Dougie, Parish, Vieira for recognizing this is a group of players that actually have played together. They've got that kind of connection, and they're only going to make the England national side better. South London has always been the hub for talent, and then unfortunately, because of the status of our club at the time, you have like the Chelseas and that swarm in and take them from South London. We're now Category A academy. I thought we're going to build something fantastic from this moment forward, especially bringing in youth into our club.
What do you think of Will Hughes? I know like a few years back, I think under Rodgers, Liverpool linked him quite often, Will Hughes. And then he went on to Watford, if I'm correct. Like, what do you think of what he's going to bring your team? Like, in terms of we haven't had him.
I think Will Hughes is a talented player. I think what's affected him is injuries have caused a little bit of a disruption in his progress. But at 25, I think he is, or 26, I mean, he's still got a decent period left of him, and he's a talented footballer. You can't question that. As a squad player, is he going to start? No, not with the likes of Gallagher there, not with the likes of sort of Luca and stuff like that. But I think it's a good signing. And we needed a good 6 to 7 players because we lost. I think it was 12 players in the end.
Yeah.
But we lost all those players. They were at the end of their journey, and despite all of the recruitment that we've done, and we spent £66 million, we're still £1 million a month better off in wages. That's how much we were hemorrhaging on the likes of Sacco, who played 12 times in 4 years. We were giving the guy 130 grand a week, and he absolutely rinsed us, which is embarrassing. We were giving Connor Wickham 60 grand a week. We renewed his contract. We gave him another 3-year contract. The guy's had 60 grand a week from us in the last 6 years, and he's hardly played as well. So this was the naivety that we had with our recruitment, and we've just switched it right up, and we've looked at what changes can we make to make them major changes, and I'm delighted with what's happened. I can't be any more happier.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. the immediate memory of Sacco in a Liverpool shirt is when it's at the end of the Dortmund game and he's like, "This is the win for the Liverpool country." Yeah, Liverpool's not a country, mate.
We are an independent republic. Shut up. I just want to go off obviously what Rich and Steve just said about your recruitment, and I think you've got to give credit where credit's due. You said yourself that you've gone from the average older squad to one of the younger squads, and doing that in normal context can be a very risky thing to go from older experienced players to very young talent who just play in the under 23s, under 18, blah blah blah. That can be a big risk, especially when you're going up against seasoned teams, like the likes of Liverpool and City and United, etc., etc. But as you said yourself, the players, it's very smart recruitment on your half, because the players that you've brought in are not just young, but they've got those relationships with one another. They've built connections. They are comfortable around each other, so they're not going in.
And they've got pedigree as well. And if you think so, if we've gone from an average age of 32 to an average age of 23, how dramatic is that?
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes to go from such a significant drop like that can be a recipe for disaster.
We've still got a number of players that are in their sort of late 20s and stuff, and that will help.
That I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just saying, normally, if you go from an average age of 32 to 23, it's a big jump, and that takes a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, etc. And normally, when you've got young kids who are in the very age, they're not seasoned yet, and they're not bled into the Premier League. They're not used to it. They're not used to the intensity. But credit where credit's due. The young players you've got have all got into working relationships with one another. They've all played together at some point. They have that experience, they have that background, and it's just very, very, very clever transfer business from yourselves. And as you rightfully said, this is, from the looks of it, with the players you're bringing in, it's a start of something good for your club.
If you think about it, we've brought in 7 players, we've got rid of 12, and those 7 players is one thing that no one has mentioned, which I'm about to mention, is those players aren't Hodgsoned. So they haven't got that core mentality ingrained with them. And all of a sudden, the rest of the squad, like Wilfred had the life siphoned out of him by Hodgson and stuff like that. I looked at it, thought, hang on, these guys are coming in playing with no care in the world. They're playing with freedom. Right, let's get back on that train. And that's what they've done, especially against West Ham and Spurs.
Yeah, and what Patrick's done extremely well is, even though the squad's a lot younger, you can tell he's brought about a united front. There was one image, I believe we were playing, the under 23s were playing, and it had a mixture of first teamers as well, trying to get their fitness up. And he had got the first team squad to go and watch them play. So it's just these little things that are, it's just bringing the whole club together, a lot more united and such, and it's going to lead us in good stead. It'll be a tough season, but I think we'll be all right.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
going
make no bones, guys. This is a transitional season for Palace. You had what you had, and we've got to move on from what that was. And this is different. This isn't what we're used to. So it will be a rocky ride at times, but there will be some fantastic moments like last weekend as well. And I'll go as far to say that the last game we gave you, as I said pre the show when we were just chatting, was the 4-3 loss. That was the last time we went at you and we played with no fear. And this game tomorrow, I suspect we'll probably end up losing still. I'm not deluded enough to realise that. But what I know will happen is we'll be back to what we were before, where we've taken the game to you. And you're going to have to beat us. You won't just rock up and just walk it. You're going to have to beat us.
The last few times we've played Crystal Palace, and that obviously under you sit back, bored and football. I think Liverpool struggle against teams like that. And it's actually, from my perspective, I don't know about like Wahomey and Doug, but from my perspective, it's kind of like, okay, you're actually going to come at us. You're going to.
I wouldn't say the 7-0 loss to you was a struggle.
No, but that was something very different.
That was a complete one-off. That result.
You literally only had to p-roll a shot and it was going to go in.
Remember that game? You did have a chance before we went quite a few goals up.
We could have gone 1-0 up, maybe even 2-0 up. It was quite bizarre, but after that, we didn't even have a look in. Like every time you got the ball, looked up, hit it, it just flew in. We were way out of it from that point.
You know, you are actually more likely tomorrow to come out your half and give us a little bit of something. You know, we've got players to watch out for now. We've got to keep our eye on people, not just going, oh, well, we'll just wait for them to open up at the back and we'll try and sneak it through or bang across it. There's going to be a little bit more of a fight, a little bit more of a game. And I'm excited because Liverpool do really well when someone runs at us. You know,
we're going to expose your main weakness, and your main weakness.
You say Trent Alexander-Arnold.
It is
right.
Alexander-Arnold. I'll say it as well. I'll say it as well.
We'll come back to that in a minute. We'll come back to talking about the key build-ups. Just wanted to ask you guys a question that Jack had brought up here. So based on, you both said you're really happy with your summer window transfers and you're the happiest you've been for a while. So based on that, where do you guys see your objectives this season? Is it to get in Europe or is it to get top 10? What's your objective for the end of the season? We'll start with you, Steve.
I said last night in another show that me and Rich did, we've got an outside chance of top 10 if we replicate the way we played against Spurs and we take points from the top 6 in games like that. We've got an outside chance. Realistically, it's probably more unlikely than likely that we'll replicate it that often, and I think it will probably be somewhere between 12th and 14th, and I'll take that all day long. But it depends, doesn't it? Because everyone said the first sort of 10 games that we had of this season were going to be really, really tough. And we're 4 games in and we got 5 points, which I didn't expect to be at that point.
Yeah. Especially with our running.
Exactly. So, you know, what's pivotal is the period between October and January where we've got a lot of games around us. If we win those, we give ourselves a chance. But, you know, I'll take anything above the bottom 3, obviously, in a transitional season. But I think it's going to be better than that.
What about you, Rich?
At this point, Arsenal are like borderline relegation zone. So, you know, they're giving you a little bit of a buffer there to get you high up the table. So props to Arsenal for doing that for you.
Yeah, it also helps when teams like Newcastle and Leeds draw. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Leeds are banging trouble. They're in the depths of second season syndrome, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it happened.
They're way too open. They're way too open.
Their defense is horrific. They their recruitment was really poor. It was always going to be a given that they confirmed the permanent signing of Harrison. That was always going to be a given. But Firpo, third choice left back at Barcelona, couldn't even get a loan club, managed to get a loan club and had 24 appearances in 3 seasons or 3 years. He's so poor positionally, and he was exposed tonight by Newcastle, and that says it all. And I think the Bielsa effect is just a myth, in my opinion, because he overworks them to the point where most of them just keep getting injured. And I think they could be in a lot of trouble.
You know, I feel like if you put this in last season, Steve, that was a comment you could have said the exact same thing, but changed Bielsa to Klopp, and you'd have rattled quite a lot of Liverpool fans with that comment.
I said this last night. I've said this last night, Sophie. I think there's a problem at Liverpool in your physio and training, and it just goes to show, because in the last 2 seasons, aside of Crystal Palace, who just had loads of old farts that kept getting injured, your injury record is horrific, and you've got so many players that are made of glass that you push to the limit. And I fear for you this season, because if Gomez gets injured, if it's Matip and Virgil van Dijk Dijk's going to have to come to the rescue of Matip consistently, and he makes any player look world class because of how much he intercepts things and sees the issues. If Van Dijk gets injured again, you're going to struggle. To be honest. I don't believe.
We've got Nat Phillips. Like, I'm happy with our centre back line. My issue, I do agree with you on the aspect that we do have problems with physio and players getting injured. Last season was a highlight of that. We pushed the boys to break and point. You know, Gini Wijnaldum plays almost I think it was only 3 games that he didn't play in all competitions. You know, Virgil van Dijk before his injury, Andy Robbo, they play every game possible. You know, it can't happen. There needs to be some change. And obviously, we've brought in other centre backs now where we can rotate, where Virgil can get a day, a game's rest, which is great. My problem now lies in that our forwards. That's where
I don't think you got any problems up front. No? I mean, you're always going to score goals.
It's the depth. It's not the ability of the players. I'm not worried about the ability of our players. I'm not worried about the physicality of them. I'm worried about the depth, because the drop in depth. If you go from Virgil and Matip, you've then got Gomez and Canate, and then Nat Phillips, you've got a decent drop underneath. You go to midfield, you've got an all right bit. You go to the front, you lose Salah, you lose Mane, you lose Jota. You've got Bobby, then you go to Origi and Minamino. That drop for me is too drastic a drop. But that's a different topic, and we can talk about that until the cows come home. The issues inside your club and issues inside my club. But, I'd be stupid, and I'm not blinkered enough to say that there aren't issues in our recruitment at the minute this season. There aren't issues in our fitness and that. But again, that might change next year. It might change the year after. We'll go through a transitional period as well. But for right now, I'm really happy with our squad. But I'm not stupid enough to say that everything's hunky-dory and everything's rose gold tinted sunglasses, because it's fucking not. But excuse me.
What I would say is, Steve, to comment about the injuries, Liverpool did make major cuts in the medical department. When they, instead of furloughing loads of people, they made cuts. And that had a massive impact, because before COVID happened, we had arguably one of the best medical departments in the country. And then those cuts, I don't think a lot of those positions have been replaced. I know we brought in Morgan from Arsenal, but a lot of the positions haven't been properly replaced yet. So I think also that has an impact when you cut in your medical department.
I think that's where you've gone wrong. If you've got a medical staff from Arsenal.
You know what, guys?
Well, actually, he's actually rated, though, people say. That they pick up Alec Morgan.
No one at Arsenal is rated.
Well, he's actually, when they talk about him, they say that he's seen as one of the best medical physios in the country.
But he's not, though, because I'm not being funny, right? Obviously, we all know my fella's an Arsenal fan. And for all the years we've been saying it, and for all the years, I've ripped into him that players go to Arsenal for free knee surgeries.
Do you argue a lot?
No, we don't, But we literally, I've laughed and said you go to Arsenal for knee surgery. That's what players go to Arsenal to break their knees. The minute we hired their physio, their knee injuries fucking stopped and ours bloody began. He just breaks people's knees. But the problem I had with Liverpool's physios is that they were getting them medically fit and going, right, okay, back into training. There was no transition between you are medically fit on paper, a transition of building up to going back to training. They're still having like a pixel party over there. There we go. But there was no, for me, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physio, I'm not an expert, and I'm not claiming to be, but logically, if somebody's medically fit, you can't go from medically fit to match fit. Like, they're different types of fitness. There needs to be a transitional period between the two before you let your player go back to full match fitness and playing games. And that's what we were doing. We were rushing them back. Not that we were rushing them back in terms of, like I said, medically fit, because you can't rush that. You either are or you aren't. But they were rushing them into games too quickly, and that's what caused a lot of our injuries last season, because they were just getting pushed back onto the pitch far too soon and getting injured again. But, hopefully that's the end of it. Like,
if you get too many injuries at the back, though, and then you have to start pushing people like Fabinho at the back again.
Can't do that again. It can't be done again. Fabinho is too important in the midfield.
No, well, we could talk about this all night. But getting back to the game, obviously, from your perspective, or from most people's perspective, obviously there wasn't fans last year in the stands where most teams were playing. So obviously you're coming to Anfield. Like, I want to start with you, Steve. Like, how with a full packed Anfield, how are you feeling about the boy, your Palace boys playing in front of a Anfield crowd? Especially when you think about it, like, I know Champions League nights are completely different to Premiership nights, but do you think that's going to play a factor tomorrow?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, away-wise, we take a lot of fans away, and the noise that we make is incredible. I think we're a different proposition now with what we've got, and we haven't just. It's not just about the Zaha thing now. It's you all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 more players. Forget Eze, he's out injured, but you've got 3 or 4 more other players that is going to deflect the attention off of Zaha. So we've definitely got a chance from that perspective. Make no bones, Anfield's a great atmosphere. I was there for that 4-3 game, and it's a great place to be. But it's if all of a sudden we put you guys under the cosh a bit, like we did in that game, it does go a bit quiet at times.
What about you, Rich? How are you feeling about the Anfield crowd tomorrow? And do you think, like Richard, like Steve's saying, it's can go a bit quiet? Do you feel the same sentiments?
I think it will. I think it will go quiet. If you had asked me this and we had Hodgson in charge, I'd say that we might as well stay at home.
No, the noise levels would have been like huge if Hodgson was still in charge, because everyone would be sitting there laughing at him.
First things first, it's just great to have fans back in the stadiums. Like, after 18 months of like complete silence, there's nothing better now than hearing the fans roar and stuff. But we'll make as much noise as you do tomorrow, absolutely. And especially with the buzz of the result from last week, we're going to be going in quite confident. Now, obviously, I know Sophie saying like it could play into your hands if we do come out and attack you. But listen, all we've done before with you is defend. So, and it's not giving us any results. So why not try something different? I know you didn't like the Trent slander, but honestly, it's not so much slander in a sense, because going forward he's brilliant. But that's not your concern. It's going the other way. And if Zaha plays anything like he did against Emerson Royal last week, it could be a very long afternoon for Trent, because he naturally pushes up high up the field.
So what I'll say to the Trent thing, and before we get into this big thing, I know other people might be itching, like Doug and Sophie, but what I'll say is Trent. People keep saying this about the defense style. I want to put this to you. Last season, when it comes to tackles, interceptions, blocks, Trent was the best right back in the Premiership. Stats verify it. He was better than Wan-Bissaka, Walker, any of those for tackles, or he was at least dual past the right back in the Premiership last season. So this idea that he can't defend or he's not a great defender compared to the others is a myth, because the stats don't back up for you. Because he's outperforming all of them last season.
I'll counter that. Look at how much problems you had against AC Milan. Everything that AC Milan did was Trent's liabilities, and he left you exposed on both those occasions. The two goals was down to Trent.
Yeah. He wasn't covered by Hendo for one of the goals, so he didn't have protection in that one. And then obviously, it's different. Obviously, when we're playing Gomez, who just came back from injury, and we had him against Matip. So there was obviously going to be some kind of like lack of cohesion there. But if Van Dijk was there, Matip, I don't think some of those goals happen.
I just want to interject. I get where you're coming from, but I'm gonna actually agree with Steve on this one. Trent, everything came down that right side. Everything, every attack, they picked on him something woeful, and he started off so strong, and he got really tired, and it felt like all the mistakes that happened were off the back of Trent. I'll give them that. It did.
He wouldn't make mistakes, Sophie, if he was an actual right back as opposed to a wing back.
But this is the problem. He is a right back, but as many pundits have said, many ex-players, the world's greatest players, have said that he's reinvented that role. So for me, this argument of he's not a great right back, blah, 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 you're comparing that to the traditional right back, but that traditional right back doesn't really get played anymore. The game is evolving. The role is evolving. My voice is going. I'm so sorry. Everything's evolving now with it. You can't compare him to right backs from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, etc., because they don't exist really anymore. And if they do, they're not great forwardly, offensively. They're not great passes. Trent's crossing ability, he is much better going forward than he is defensively. You can't have 50-50. It can't be 100% one way and 100% the other. It has to be give and take. You're always going to be better at one thing than another. But what he brings forward for us is so much more important. He feeds so much of that ball to us that I'll deal with him being a 60-40. Because
he needs to be in midfield.
It doesn't need to be in midfield.
I said it all along. His passing ability, his set plays and everything. So trust me, if he played in midfield for you, Jesus Christ, he would be unbelievable.
Steve, the way you're making it sound is like it's a weakness. Like if he was a weakness, we wouldn't have won the Champions League, the league. We wouldn't be beating some of the best teams in the world. Like when we played teams like Barcelona, all these kind of teams, Trent was right back. If he was a weakness, we would suffer in this game.
You only won the Champions League because of Origi.
Who took the corner?
Well, on that comment, though,
there's a reason. There's a reason, guys, why Trent can't get into the England side.
Southgate's an idiot. That's why.
That's a big part of it as well. But I just think in midfield, he's passing, he's crossing everything. He's unreal.
I don't really care if he plays for England anyhow. So I'm not one of those people. I don't care. Like as long as Trent's fit for Liverpool, I don't really care. If you want to leave Henderson as well back at Anfield, I'm happy you should do that because I don't really care if they play for England. So when people start using that as a dig, it doesn't really bother me that you can't get the England team.
Here's where I stand with Trent. Yeah, Klopp's system hides his flaws, and what I mean by that is obviously, like I said, he's good going forward. He has Henderson who then covers for him. Van Dijk covers for him.
No, Van Dijk's the other side.
No, Van Dijk, he covers the whole back four.
So you want to tell me that Van Dijk who covers over the side by Robbo? So it's either Gomez or Matip who plays on that right side by.
We know how good Van Dijk is.
It would be them who provides cover for Trent, not Virgil. So that's absolute bollocks anyway.
No.
Van Dijk has made Gomez and Matip look good.
Your problem there is you're talking about a completely different player who doesn't cover over his side. It would be the left.
No. But
Steve, you say that
when you look at the game of football.
Hold on for a minute, Rich. Steve, you say that Van Dijk's made Matip looked good, right? When Liverpool played Bayern Munich 2 years back, Van Dijk was missing. Lewandowski, in probably very few games, the first game ever, really, he had no shots on target. He's never ever had that in time he's playing. So, and I'll send it back to that game with Matip and Fabinho. So, if Van Dijk makes him so good, why was Lewandowski one of the best strikers of the last decade having no shots against Liverpool?
Yeah.
So that again, the things are there just prove your point there. But we
pulled
digress.
You put up one game. If you want to stop, you could look at it when Van Dijk missed a lot of your season last season, right? And I think you got affected by it. You look at the games, like, yeah, that's how good he is. And going back to your point regarding, yes, he does play left defensively, but he's literally the Kante of your backline.
He's literally everywhere.
He's everywhere.
And he rectifies everyone's mistakes. And you look at the mistakes that are being made, you think,
that good.
Oh, yeah, how have they got away with that? And it's simply one common denominator, Van Dijk.
Okay, well,
why were Liverpool rejoicing when he came back? Everyone was bemoaning the fact that you'd bought a player from Preston and obviously bought in Nat Phillips. Everyone was just moaning about it incessantly on social media. As soon as Van Dijk was training again and he was showing fitness, everyone was like, "This is it. We're happy again." I've never seen the Liverpool fan base be like up there and down there and up there so quickly.
You're welcoming back a world-class player.
What you're saying, Steve, is basically you saw my Twitter account where Virgil came back and all I did for like 6 weeks was spam Virgil content.
Exactly. And it weren't just you. It was like loads of other accounts as well. Only the ones that I haven't been blocked by that I could see.
We can digress on this all day long and talk about this, but we'll get back to the game because I think you're fishing, Steve. I think
I'm not fishing, mate. I'm not fishing because I'll tell you another thing, homie. When Trent has a bad game, the amount of criticism, especially all the virgins and whatnot that are in your fan base that moan about stuff, start kicking off when he has a bad game. They're on him and they're bemoaning everything, and it's because he's too far forward up the pitch trying to support Salah and trying to create opportunities. It's not physically possible for him to get back quick enough to cover the space that he's left. And AC Milan, you know, they're not a bad side, of course, and they've done well to get into the Champions League, given how poor they have been previously. But they exposed him so badly. And that's the point I'm trying to make. He's too far up the pitch trying to create opportunities to get back to cover the space that he's left open.
Well, we can debate that, and I have things I can argue with that, but we could be here all night for that. So, just going on with you guys, how do you think you're going to line up for tomorrow? What's going to be your lineup?
VG in goal. Joe Ward right back, I reckon. Gay and Anderson, who have been solid. They've been brilliant. Mitchell left back. The midfield, it could be anything really. There's definitely going to be Gallagher.
I think it's going to be Luca, then Gallagher,
and Maka.
And Maka, Zaha, Elise, and then Edouard.
I would love it to be Elise and not Ayew.
I think Elise will get thrown in. I think there's a chance that will happen.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So that's your final lineup.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Benteke's starting. Not after last week.
Cool. All right, so we'll come back to you guys. Move on to Liverpool side. And everyone here is watching, just smash that like and subscribe button. So, for Doug and Sophie, obviously Liverpool going to this game on the back of a 3-2 big Champions League win. How are you feeling about Palace? Start you, Doug.
Look, it's always a very tricky game. You know, I think Palace are suited better away from home than they are at Selhurst Park. I'll say that now. We've had some classic games against them over the years. You know, obviously, you know, the 4-3, that was the last 3 o'clock kickoff we had with them as well. So tomorrow's going to be a very interesting game, and I think they are more now suited to attack us more than they were under Hodgson.
What about you, Saif? How are you feeling about the game?
Sorry, my voice is completely going now.
It's because you went on mute and was ranting about me for about 5 minutes.
I know, I had to mute myself because I just thought if I'll say something I shouldn't say. I'll end up saying something, getting blocked by you again. But no, I think tomorrow's going to be an interesting game. You know, Crystal Palace, we've gone into depth about. You've got a lot more attacking up front now, a lot more creativity in your style of play, and we don't really know what to expect in terms of how are you going to perform. Are you going to sit back and let us take control and then counter attack and press us? Are you going to come out to your half and attack? Are you going to be easy to manage or not? We don't know because you are going through a transition. So I think it's just going to be an exciting game either way.
Yeah, I think it will be a good game. So obviously, when I looked at the results, obviously Liverpool have won like the last 8 games between Palace and Liverpool. Liverpool. The last time obviously Palace won, I think, was back in 2017. So we'll start with you, Doug. Does that play a factor tomorrow, or is that non-relevant? And is this all about tomorrow's game, an isolation?
I think it's all about tomorrow. Really, I don't really look at past sort of results. I know obviously the last time they beat us was obviously that 2017. Funnily enough, I actually remember that game. It was my dad's birthday, and we had just met Les Dennis and Samantha Womack outside the Edinburgh Festival Theatre because I think they were in the Addams Family, and we obviously wanted to go and meet them. And I remember Dad saying it was like 1-0, and when we got back to the car, it was like 2-1 to Palace because obviously Benteke had scored his double. So it's always a very tricky place to go to at any time, Anfield. I just feel that tomorrow, big crowd behind us. I feel that we'll have a good game tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very tough game. I think Palace's midfield is going to be very, very key. I think Conor Gallagher is fantastic, and obviously I love Edward as a player as well. So Edward against Matt, if it's Konate, if it's Van Dijk, that could be a big battle. And Zaha against Trent just worries me. The strength, the power, the pace that he can get past them. I am particularly worried about Zaha, and he does have a tendency to get in people's faces as well. So we need to not be intimidated by Zaha.
So going for you, Saif, you mentioned earlier, obviously, the fact that if Palace play an open game against us, that's going to suit us. Because obviously Hodgson was dull, negative, boring, anti-football. And obviously Vieira, with the players that Palace have now, you'd expect, even some of the games they played this season, they played a much more attacking, a bit more open. Does that play into us? Because Leeds did that last weekend, and obviously we saw the scoreline with them. Does that play into our hands?
Yeah, but Leeds have got burnout, so we're different to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you look at historically, if you look at Liverpool over the last couple of seasons, we go up against a team with a low block and we are dropping points in those easy, quote unquote, easy games. We're dropping points with, conceding silly goals and that because we just can't break through them. They shut up shop and they shut up shop really good because if you can stop a Liverpool press, congratulations, you've done half the job. Half the battle's won there. But if you're going to come out at us and try and challenge our press, we're going to exploit those holes. We're going to find those areas of weakness that if you've not got your banks of 4 and you're more fluid in midfield, we are going to nitpick right through it. We are going to do those long diagonal balls. Now Virgil's back as well. We're going to see the cross coming in from Trent. It opens up and it feeds very well into our style of play. Now, I'm not saying that it's 100% certain that it will work like that. Just on average, when a team comes out and plays an attack and press against us, it suits us better. It doesn't always work, as football is that way, but we tend to get better results against teams who come and fight us rather than teams who sit back and hide behind their halfway line. But either way, it's going to be an interesting game, isn't it?
So I just want to bring you guys attention. I'm seeing, I'm seeing. Now, from my point of view, I think the player I'm going to mention, I think he's doing everything but score. He's actually defending well. He actually is getting good positions, and he's missing his chances. Yeah, but he's getting those positions in the first place. And I think it's always better to be getting those positions than not getting those positions at all. So, and I've seen a lot of people, even in the Milan when he came on with Mane, I think there's a lot of people who are giving him hate. They're saying Mane was terrible against AC Milan, which I disagree with, or that Mane's on a decline, he's finished, which I again disagree with.
Don't talk fish.
So, with you, Doug, what's your take on Mane this season? Because from my point of view, like I said, I think he's still doing defending well, he's still pressing well, he's still getting himself in good positions, and I just feel that he just needs a little rub of the green. He's got a good record against Palace. The one team I can't remember the record it is that, if he scores tomorrow, he's going to break a Liverpool record for amount of goals against the same team. So, do you feel it's just a goal that he just needs a little run to just get that confidence back, where of 2 seasons back? Plus, obviously, you look at it, he still only had a short period of rest this summer. So, what's your take on Mane?
I tell you, there's a lot of people who talk pish on Twitter, and Mane is just the forefront of it. Honestly, I am fed up to death of people just writing him off. It's been 3, 4, 5 games already this season, and we're already writing him off. Piss off, honestly. Mane is getting in the right positions. At least he's actually at least he's actually getting in the right positions. Yes, he might not be finishing. And yes, I know he's taking about 9-10 shots before he can, score a goal. But tomorrow, if he gets an early goal, then obviously it might, calm him down. I mean, that Mane stat, I think, if he scores tomorrow, I think it's not just a record for Liverpool. I think it's a record in history that he becomes the first player ever to score against the same opponent in 9 consecutive matches, which I think is a record in itself. But honestly, I could be here all night talking about football Twitter and people just writing off Mane because it's just ridiculous. And I'm going into a rant anyway. But no, I think I have a feeling he might score tomorrow, because he loves playing Palace. He absolutely loves playing Palace. But at least he's getting in the right positions. At least he's making chances. Yes, he might have lost a little bit of that pace that he's had, but for me, he's still a very, very good player, and he will be a danger to Palace's players tomorrow.
What's your take on it, Soph?
I've had this theory, and I've said this for years between Mane and Salah. When Salah first came to us, people were all marking Mane because they knew that Mane was our attacking force, and they didn't realise what Salah was. Then the following season, you had 2 or 3 defenders on Salah, which opened Mane up. So Mane was our big goal scorer, and obviously they won the shared golden boot. Then the following year, they all started marking, Mane again, and then Salah started. And for me, it's very give and take. And for the AC Milan game, when Mane came on, and I agreed to them being rested, they need this rest, they need a break. When Mane came on, he was electric. It was unfortunate not to score, but when he came on, we were attacking any end, and I was sat right, only a couple of rows back, and every attack that came through, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was cutting through them like butter, like a hot knife through butter. He was great. It was just unfortunate to finish, but at every time he got in the box or on the edge, there were 2-3 AC Milan players all around him at one point. They were suffocating him. He had nowhere to go apart from trying to chip it over them and open somebody else up. They were completely shutting out his goal scoring opportunities, and the same happened for Salah a couple of seasons ago. You had 3 defenders on him at one given point, and I think teams have to look. Our attacking threat is very, very strong. you've got to, as a defender, you've got to decide which one of them is more dangerous at a given point. There's always you're never going to have both of them on 100%. You're going to have one performance slightly better than the other, and you've got to make the decision: who are you going to target more? At the minute, Salah's got a lot of open space, especially in that AC Milan game. Just for example, everything that went to Salah was. Every time you looked, Salah was open. No one was covering him. No one was able to get to him. They were so focused on covering the other side. And when Mane came on, they were all over Mane. And I don't agree that Mane's past it, or as it has been, or is done, is washed up. I think he's just going through a transition of it, because Salah went through a piece was it last season? It's not season before, I think, where he didn't score for 8 games. And everyone was saying the same thing about Salah. Oh, he's washed up. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Oh, he's that. And now, look what he's doing again now.
Next summer will be very interesting for you, though, guys. Because you got Firmino, he's 30. You got Mane, who will be 30. And you've got Salah, who's 30. It'll be interesting to see what Liverpool decide to do with that, and whether, as a 3, they can carry on much longer.
I think I'm going to try to say this without going on a rampage, because I haven't got the voice to go on a rampage. When you hit 30, you don't suddenly lose all pace, all ability, all skill. Okay, you start to have a natural decline, because football, and you don't, as an attacker, you don't go on that long. You don't go on long into your 30s. Let's be honest. But you don't suddenly wake up on your 30th birthday and you've forgotten everything and you don't know what you're doing anymore. You don't suddenly go from being an amazing attacker to nothing overnight. Salah's one of the fittest players in our squad. I'm not worried about him turning 30. I'm worried about Bobby, because Bobby's already having to change his role slightly. I think the front 3, we know, can't go on forever. We're not deluded. We're not thinking that they're never going to be replaced. We are going to have to start thinking within the next 18 months about replacing them with certain players. We have got Jota. Jota will take one of those places, but we need somebody else as well. We know that. But for me, who, just off the back of this transfer window, and I've said it a million times, who was available, who was willing to wait 18 months, 2 years for a starting position at an affordable price? There wasn't one. So unfortunately, sometimes, as we said earlier in the podcast, your team at the minute have made very clever signings for young players who were right for you at that time. And you've just been very fortunate that the players you've got all came around together. We've had bouts where we've got loads of players together. We haven't this year. Would I have liked to sign it? Yes. But I'm going to be more realistic and just say, look, it's going to happen. It's got to happen. Just right now, it's not a worry now. It's a worry in 18 months. Yeah. Not now. Right now, those lads are still incredibly fit, incredibly powerful, and are a threat. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But there's no point sitting here arguing about what's going to happen in a year's, 18 months, 2 years' time. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But we can sit here and argue all day about, the longevity of our front 3. We know it's not going to happen forever. We know it's going to need changing, just not right now.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Are you fearful in the sense of not being prepared in those say 18 months to 2 years time? Because obviously, as you say, so if your front 3 are probably still going to be playing up until then.
I'm not worried and I'm not fearful of it, because I know and I trust in my club. I know FSG and all that shite. We can argue about them another time. But they are not stupid. Our club know that we need to replace these lads at some point. Our scouts will have someone in the pipeline. They're not going to just sit there and in 18 months go, shit, these players are out of contract. These players are aging. We're starting to see a decline. We need somebody. They're not going to do that. They're going to be looking now going, right, like you just said, they are turning 30. The club are going to be looking at replacements. Whether that comes through the academy or whether that comes from transfers, we don't know yet. That will remain to be seen. But you can't say for 1 second that Liverpool are just going to go wake up one day and go, shit, we need to replace these lads. There will be something put in place beforehand, and I trust that the club will do that when the time is right. And Wahome decides to disappear, so I guess it's all of the croaky McCrokerson over here.
It's an interesting thing to point out, though, Safe. Striker-wise, other than Haaland, there isn't really a lot of choice out there anyway.
No, there isn't.
And if you want to sign anyone, you've got Kane, who would just cost you stupid money, and you wouldn't spend that. And you've got Lukaku, who went to Chelsea. That was stupid money. Other than that, it's just like people that are in the twilight of their career, and no one's really come through other than Mason Greenwood. And obviously, he's not getting the appearances that he wants. So to replace all three is going to be very difficult, and to bring in any striker to any big top six club anyway is going to be very difficult because the choice out there is very limited right now.
Exactly, and that's the point. And I say this to them: yes, I want a striker. Yes, I want attackers to replace them. Yeah, I do. But I'm not going to sit there and throw me dummy out the pram and throw a temper tantrum because I haven't got what I want. Because you've got to be, and it comes with part of. I'm going to take it back to Twitter. A lot of people on Twitter are teenagers. They are young. They have very little life experience. Not all, but some. And they don't understand that sometimes you have to wait for what you want.
They've got a big sock collection.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it. We can talk about this all day, but I'm going to bring it back to
let me finish my point. Don't rush me off. Don't be rude. While you were gone, Steve asked me something and I'm answering it, so shut up.
Yeah, we can talk about this all day. It's like.
But Steve asked me a question, so shut up.
Yeah, we'll pass this question, Soph, because we can talk about this all day, to be honest. We've spoken about this before. Like, leading back to the match and actually finish that part off. Otherwise, we'll be here all night talking about what's going to happen in 18 months and stuff, to be honest.
That's me told.
So, okay, so going on to match the game. Looking at lineups, obviously we know that Bobby's out, Elliot's out, Origi's out, Minamino is probably out too.
It's good on Elliot, by the way. Just worth pointing out that it's not a broken leg and it's just a dislocation, because that will help him in his mindset, because it's not as bad.
3-4 months.
It's 3-4 months, but instead of sort of 6 to 9 months, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a bonus. So hopefully,
a third of a season as opposed to the whole season.
Doug, you just dropped the kids off.
No, no. I had to go downstairs for a minute.
Okay, so for the Liverpool guys, what's your lineup for tomorrow? Start with you, Doug.
Ali, Trent. I think Kanati will come in for a matchup, so I think it'll be Kanati, Van Dijk. I think he'll play Robertson. I can see potentially Tsimikas or Beck come in for the Norwich game on Tuesday. Fabinho, Hendo, Thiago, and then I'm going Mane, Jota, Salah.
Perfect. What are you, Safe? Any difference?
Well, I think on Doug's, I originally said, didn't I, put in Minamino in, but obviously if Minamino's out, Jota's not, because I was just thinking of resting Jota. But other than that, yeah, same. Oh,
yeah, I think.
But I'd say maybe Robbo for Costas would be more of a thing for me.
Tony, the kickoff's at 3 p.m. tomorrow, not 4:30. So that's the time. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that's should be the team, especially now we're moving on to 3 games a season. So, and plus, I think the rumours are that Kanati is going to debut tomorrow. So, it would be interesting to see him help with training on that right hand side against Zaha. So this one open to everyone. Like, what do you think are? So we'll have 2 from you guys, and then 2 from Sophie and Doug. Are the key battles tomorrow? So obviously, one side said the battle. Pick something else. So we'll start with the Palace guys. What do you think are the key battles that are going to decide tomorrow's game? So 2 from you guys.
I think Gallagher's going to cause Fabinho problems. He's a very different player. that he'll be used to. And he's playing with extremely high confidence. And as we've already mentioned, Trent's going to have a torrid time against Zaha, in my opinion. It's not to say he won't create opportunities, because he will. Because, you know, that's the type of player he is. But he'll just leave a lot of space for Zaha to do what's best.
Yeah, those were the two that I was thinking of as well. And I think this is the first time we come to you guys where our midfield's a lot more dynamic. We're so used to like three kind of defense-minded midfielders with Maka trying to push forward, because we had like Milo and Kayute, and they don't have the legs. So I thought Gallagher's going to be key, and yeah, same with Trent and Wilf, and pay particular attention to Anderson, because just like Van Dijk does for you, Anderson does spray a good diag, and I think that's what we'll be looking for tomorrow.
Yeah, his positional sense and his distribution against Spurs and West Ham was phenomenal.
Spurs, Doug, what are your key lineups completely that different? Key battles?
Key battles, I think Salah versus Mitchell could be very interesting. I think like whoever Mo Salah plays against, I think they're going to have a torrid time. But I've been impressed with Mitchell. I think he's a very, very good left back, and I think you've seen last season that he was favoured instead of obviously Van Aanholt last season. So obviously Van Aanholt's moved on, and it's allowed Mitchell to be left back as well. I would say probably Mane versus probably Joel Ward as well. Like that. So I'd say Mane versus Joel Ward, and I'd say Salah against Tyrick Mitchell.
So anything different?
Yeah. Well, Mane, I agree with that one. And I would go up with Trent coming down that right. I will defend him, and I will always defend Trent, but they do target down the right a lot, and if he's off his game and he gets in his head, it makes open season and it makes our job a lot harder.
So, have you got posters of Trent above your bed?
No, I have posters of Virgil.
All right, okay, moving on. We will go to our predictions. So we'll go around. Rich, what's your prediction for tomorrow?
2-2.
2-2. Steve?
I'm going for Christian Ball 2, 3-3.
Safe?
3-0.
Doug?
3-1.
Yeah, I posted 3-0 earlier, so I'm going to stick to that. Interesting the Palace predictions to a draw or like repeat Istanbul. Okay. Christianbul is normally what it's called. Okay, perfect. We're going to move on to Sophie's favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
If I was sitting in Sophie's room right now, she'd be slapping me. That's for sure.
Oh,
so,
you would be
you,
welcome in my room right now. You'd be in the garden. Wahomie, I'm going to send you the trivia because I sound like Kermit the Frog.
Sure. Okay. Are you perfect? Okay. Let's see. So the first trivia that Sophie found. Why is my Wi-Fi taking so low? Hold on. Wi-Fi's been slow. Switch it off.
Christmas will be here soon.
Yeah. So the first one is, if money was concerned, where would you live? What would you do? And what would your lifestyle look like? Start with you, Steve.
Say that again.
If money wasn't a concern, where would you live?
Money. I thought you said Mane wasn't a concern. I was like, what?
And what would your lifestyle look like?
I don't think it'd be a tremendous amount different to what I am. I'm a very sort of humble person. Like friends and family are sort of like the most important thing to me, really. Yeah, I'd probably buy a few niceties, a decent car, like a sports car, that kind of thing. But yeah, overall, probably wouldn't be tremendously different. I like my life. I like what I do. I like winding people up. It's what I thrive on.
Rich?
Destination, I'm not too sure. Like, I do like Barcelona. I do like Miami. I'll probably go back to Ghana and settle there. Regarding what I would do, I've always loved work with youth. Hence I'm a primary school teacher at the moment as well. And hey, the youth are the future, and as long as we make them better each day, then we're doing the after job. So yeah, still work with youth, I'll say.
Nice. Doug?
I'm going to be a bit outside the box, but I would say Tenerife, because I'm just thinking of so many trips to Siam Water Park, and I would just love that. So yeah, for me, it's Tenerife.
Safe?
And that basically Tenerife was where me and Rebecca got engaged as well. So
Nice.
that's got a special moment in my heart.
Is she sitting next to you and just giving you a kick?
No,
Yeah.
she's no, she's not.
So?
I think I'd keep me home base in Liverpool because this is I'm just a proper Scouser. This is my home. I think I would definitely have homes abroad. There, like I'd settle like my second home in Greece. I love Greece. I love the people. I love the food. I love the lifestyle, and I'd just go on loads of I'd just go on holidays all the time. I'd probably keep my life as simple as it is. Like Steve said, I quite like my little life. I'd just up how many holidays and
I'd go away a lot as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I like my life, to be fair.
Oh, shall I go for a weekend shopping spree in Milan? Yeah, go on.
What about a pole dancing place, business?
I like my little studio. I don't have to deal with all the business part of it. I just turn up and spin around the pole and then go home. It's great.
I do know Richard Branson has an own island, so just to escape. Next one. If you were forced to gladiatorial combat, but could only choose a weapon that isn't typically considered a weapon, what non-conventional weapon would you choose? We'll start with you, Safe.
Now, you're probably going to think this is dead weird. You know, the wash and line pole. I'd go for the wash and line pole because I can extend it. I can whack you with it. You can separate them into two, and I can put them one of these. Right? That'd be a good weapon. That it's made of metal. It's sturdy.
You're so aggressive, Sophie.
I know.
Rich?
Call me crazy, but I'll go for like some black pepper. You literally just blow it in your face. You either get blinded or you're gonna be sneezing a lot. So
Cinnamon, do the cinnamon challenge.
yeah, a bit left field, but yeah.
Steve?
So the question was, if you had to go into battle, what weapon you would take that's non-conventional?
Yeah.
I would take Roy Hodgson because his defensive ability is second to none.
Well
Doug?
done. Well done.
I'll take Virgil van Dijk.
Oh.
So you can cover everyone's mistakes.
Okay.
Oh.
For me, I'll take an iron board. Hot iron board. No, iron. Hot iron, because that hurts when you sting someone with that.
I'd end up hitting myself with it.
So, what's this message you just sent me? I could easily kill you. Bloody hell.
Oh, don't read it out online. Do that to me. I've lined up my kill kit there on the carpet. I'm just waiting for this to finish. I'll be all right.
The next one. If you had to be haunted by a ghost the rest of your life, but could choose which dead person the ghost would be, who would you choose as your ghost? We'll start with you, Doug.
Oh. Sorry, can you repeat that?
If you had to be haunted by a ghost for the rest of your life, but you could choose which dead person the ghost would be, who would you choose as your ghost?
My granddad. It's simple. It's simple. I've this has been one of the hardest years of my life so far, and like losing him, it's like losing a piece of your soul. So I'd want him to just come back as a ghost. Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice one. Complete, yeah. What about you, Steve?
It's a simple one for me. My mum, I lost her when I was young. I never had. I had a mum, but I didn't really have a mum, and I'd love her to come back and just be part of some form of my life, and just to be able to talk to her again would be amazing. Sorry, it's a bit soppy.
Rich?
Yeah, I'll join your soppiness. You'll be definitely my grandma. Yeah, she did everything whenever we went back to Ghana. She did like everything to make sure that we had a great time and stuff. Even if we went to pick up the brush to help sweep up, like we'll get in trouble for that. You know, and yeah, she meant the more to us.
So?
How cute are you three? Honest to God, like this makes me sound fucking heartless now. I've only ever lost one person, which was my grandma. And I loved my grandma. I loved her. But I'm closer to my mum's mum. And she's still here. So I can't say her ghost because she's still here. So I picked Robin Williams because whenever I was down, if I was sad or down, I would have the world's best friend to cheer up with. And that when he felt down, he would have the world's best friend to cheer up with as well. I don't know. I just thought Robin Williams would be a really nice person to be haunted by. And now it sounds really superficial because you've all picked really loving reasons, and I picked a celebrity that I never knew.
Mrs. Doubtfire, dear. Mrs. Doubtfire, dear.
But if he was sad, I'd just get cream for the video, like, hello, dear. How doing?
I think for me, I'd pitch Richard Pryor because I think he's one of the best comedians of all time. It just always cracks me up. Okay, the next one, final one. Would you rather be incredibly witty and outgoing, or quiet and incredibly intelligent?
Oh, witty and outgoing all day.
Steve?
I'd just continue to be myself because I'm all of that.
So you're
Doug?
I'd probably be the same as well because I don't think there's anything you can change about me. Like I'm Mr. Positivity, so you know if you took that away from me, then I'd be probably a boring person. So no, I'd be just the same person.
Safe?
Well, could you imagine me as quiet? Like that just doesn't work, does it? I'd have to stay as the incredibly witty and loud person that I am. And if you say one word, Steve, I am going to get a kill hit.
I'm saying nothing. I'm already in enough trouble as it is.
I can see you thinking, and I'm going, if he says one thing now, I'm going to kill him.
Interesting.
What about you?
I think I think probably witty and outgoing. I wouldn't want to be quiet and intelligent. So yeah, that'd be me. All right. I think that's the end of the trivia ones. So that's a good kind of point to wrap up. Everyone in the chat, you've been amazing, as always. So we appreciate you coming on.
Sophie, have you dropped one?
No. What? I'm just over my phone and Doug just sent me this.
Who sent you that?
Doug.
So yeah. So yeah, everyone in the chat has been amazing. So we do appreciate you as always. If you haven't done, do smack that like and subscribe button. Doug, appreciate you coming on and being a host again.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Whenever you want me, just call me. I've enjoyed this. Thank you.
It's good to meet you, Doug.
Good to meet you, Steve. Good to meet you, Rich.
Rich and Steve, appreciate you guys coming on and giving us your Palace perspective. And we'll definitely have you both on for the away game as well. So best of luck for the rest of the season, but not best of luck for tomorrow.
So sitting there thinking, for fuck's sake.
Otherwise,
He loves me really, Doug. Trust me.
I do.
Doug.
I do.
Like a hole in the head.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Otherwise, we'll be tomorrow again because I'm going to be doing watch along. So anyone around who wants to watch the game with me, do jump on. Otherwise, we'll be back
Too
for
busy at the match.
yeah. Sophie will be the match. I'll be doing watch along. I'll be back for a post match sometime either Sunday or Monday. So keep watch out for that. We'll decide on a date.
Well, homie, if the results go our way, trust me, I'll be in touch with you.
I know you will. Otherwise, everyone, have an amazing evening, and we appreciate you for joining us tonight. Otherwise, up the Reds, and we'll see you all soon.
Up the red and blue.